Hey everyone, my name is Dr. Dolores Tarver. I'm a licensed psychologist here in Georgia, and it is time for the TT Time with Dr. Tarver. It's a wellness-based podcast. It is not intended to be a substitute for a relationship with a licensed mental health provider. It's already the second week of August, and I can tell you this increased traffic is reminding me that our young scholars are back in academic action. We are celebrating National Wellness Month here in August, and I gotta tell you, I need it. It just seems like these past couple of weeks have just been a bit more emotionally heavy, and maybe you all are experiencing some of those things too. Just seeing a lot more negativity and criticism and attacking comments. There's a lot of contention out here, and I know some of that has to do with election time. But I think in general, like, people are just experiencing an overall heaviness that is causing them to be really quick-tempered and taking things really personal, and just frankly being mean. And I gotta tell you, I don't like it. Not a fan. 0 out of 10. Would not recommend. I think it's because it just throws off my empathic spirit. And you know, I'm a Libra. I like my scales balanced. I like for things to be in harmony. And I know that can't always be the case. And so instead of recording this episode yesterday, I was just like, let's just take some time and get refocused. And we'll get back on it tomorrow when we're refreshed and we're feeling replenished. And I think that was a good call. So I do think it is fitting today that I talk a little bit about hope for those of you who may also be feeling some of this heaviness for various reasons. I also know that the grieving season doesn't stop. And that people are in the season of not having people in this phase of life right now, and that's always kind of tough. And I also understand that as we set boundaries in our lives about being healthier, sometimes people can't come along on that journey, and that may be contributing as well to some of these things we're experiencing. So let's get into today's episode. Hope springs eternal, the power of having hope. Now, hope is not anything I haven't discussed before. I think in 2023 I did a series on hope. I had several episodes that focused on an aspect of hope. And in fact, one of them was titled Hope Floats After one of my favorite movies. And you know, I'm a big fan of the scene where they're discussing Big Dolores the bully. And I think that all of us have needed to have hope at some point in our journeys to get through. That's why it's the subject of movies and books, and there's mantras. You go Google hope right now, and so many things pop up. And so you're probably not new to hope, even if at times you have difficulty being true to it. But I do think that it is important for us to understand. One of my good friends, Bishop Julian Lott, people say things to me they don't even remember. They said probably we were young. He started out his ministry young, and he said to me as I was asking about death and why young people end up dealing with so many health issues and things that lead to their death, and it just doesn't seem like it's fair. And he said to me, you would not be able to know pain. You would not be able to know joy if you didn't know pain. And I think even as a child, I kind of understood where he was going with that, which is that sometimes to have this hope, to have these experiences of being able to enjoy and be positive and be able to celebrate things, they often come from the stuff that's uncomfortable. For hope, that's things like dissonance. I know a lot of us, you have a hard time being able to kind of allow your mind to be able to make sense of some of the things that go on around us. And so I think we tell ourselves things to get through, even if they're not quite accurate and they don't sit well in our spirit, but we disconnect. But that, you know, with the life's difficulties and the negativity and the pain and the uncertainty and the rejection that we experience and feeling dismissed and not being satisfied, like, those are the things that often hope is birthed from. And even though I don't care for any of those things, I understand their importance in being able to get on this other side of being hopeful, because much like we discussed last week, When we're talking about happiness and joy, Black Boy Joy, happiness and joy are often a matter of perspective and choice. So I'm choosing to be happy. I'm choosing to be joyful. Hope is similar in that it is a choice to focus on what we can control. Much like faith, there isn't always evidence that things are going to turn out better. We may not be able to see it, but we still believe it because we maintain that it's possible. And I think as we are working to be able to be more hopeful, that's what we have to keep in mind. That in fact, hope is possible. It is our ability to be able to bounce back when we've hit the bottom. It was a whole presidential campaign a couple of election seasons ago. Hope has the power to motivate and incite passion. It fuels optimism. It promotes happiness. However, the other side of it, the absence of hope, the lack of hope, is often what is underneath our depression. It's a risk factor for suicidal thoughts and behaviors. Hopelessness can make us feel powerless, and that it doesn't really matter what we do because it's not going to change anything. It makes situations look more bleak and impossible. Lack of hope is paralyzing. If you've ever been in those spaces where you've just felt like nothing is going to change, it doesn't matter. I've tried, other people have tried, it's just not going to change. This is the place where I'm going to be. And acceptance of that sometimes is what puts us into hopelessness, because I don't want to be in this space, but I just feel like there's nothing I can do about it. I was at a church on Saturday talking about temperance, moderation, patience, and a young lady was asking, as I was talking about ways to be able to build kind of positive habits, a young lady said, well, what do you do? How do you build that, essentially? How do you build this hope, if you will, when you have not experienced it as something that's possible for you? And you know how you can look in people's eyes and just see their pain. And I said, sister, I can see that pain. I can see that hurt. I could tell people had let her down, and that she had not had much positivity around her. Her eyes started tearing up. And I understand that when you're in that place, it can be very difficult to see hope. It is, I think, hopelessness is again the effects of negativity and criticism and isolation and bitterness, right? Like I think underneath some of those behaviors is that hopelessness, because it is difficult to be able to want to invest in people, to be excited for people, to not take it personal when someone else is promoted and you're not, to be able to invest in people that you care about, to be able to root for people even when you don't feel like you're getting anything and other people are getting stuff. Like, that's hard to be able to not get jealous about other people being able to have access to things, or being, as sometimes we say, blessed with things, and I'm not. And I think it can make us resentful a good bit, because we feel like, well, why am I not having any of these positive experiences? Like, they're not special. Like, why are they getting these things? And so I think just being in that space, it'll suck the joy right out of you, and it just pierces through your ability to be able to see or want to see anyone else have potential. But also what it does is it's debilitating to you, and so you can't see yourself and your situation in a positive light and be able to shift into some acceptance of that. Sometimes things are not going to work out in the way that we want them to, but that doesn't mean they're not going to work out. And sometimes we have to change the vision and be empowered by what our vision is, what our life is going to be, as opposed to that comparison is the thief of joy. experience where because I can't have what you have, then it's not joyful, and therefore I don't have any hope that my situation is going to change. So it is important to me to plant seeds, right? That's one of the things that if I could have symbolism for what I'd like to be in this world, I talk to people about, what does your ministry look like? So if people don't have any words and they only see your behavior, and sometimes we think that we are projecting something positive and we're being hopeful and we're being encouraging, we're being nurturing, and sometimes we are not. We are being critical and we're being negative and we're being attacking. And so as I think about what I would want mine to look like, seeds that sprout into a tree with these big roots and these leaves that extend out, these branches, would be mine, because I would love to be able to have things that I plant grow and be able to bear fruit and be able to be productive and be able to give people shade, not that negative shade where people are like slick dissing you, but the shade of comfort and peace and covering in times of storms, that anchor the tree that's planted by the waterside. There's a lot of semblance or symbolism rather in trees for me, and so that's what I would like to say, right, is how I would want my hope to look for other people. But why is that important? Why do I think that matters in this scheme of life? And I will tell you, it's because hope, it builds resilience. There are going to be storms, friends, that is undeniable. There are going to be health scares, and there are going to be challenges with kids and partners, and there are going to be financial worries, and there are going to be big career choices. Sometimes it will be the matter of you being able to have peace in your career path versus you being able to get paid in your career path. There are going to be tensions with friends. There are going to be losses in your life. There are going to just be people that are mean and cruel and hateful in your life or around your life. And so to be able to manage these challenges, we have to have hope. Hope is one of those kind of universal characteristics that is a part of your coping toolbox. So it helps with depression, it helps with anxiety, it helps to manage trauma. It allows you to be able to problem solve. It allows you to be able to be someone who has creative thinking and who can navigate helpful solutions. You all have been in spaces where you've been in meetings and people are like just telling you all of the things that are wrong. But no one is talking about, well, hey, this is going well, let's build on this, or here's a way we can handle that. It begins to be kind of this bashing of people and how everything is, as the young people say, how everything sucks, right? And so sometimes when we have the capacity to shift in those environments and have that hope, we can manage the stress of having to be in those meetings. If you know me, you know I do not like meetings for the sake of meetings. Meetings should be productive and useful and give information and clarity, and we walk away better than we came in. But to be able to sometimes manage that, we have to have hope that we are able to engage in positive behaviors, that we can be the change that we want to see. Hope allows us to be able to fight back against the dread and the pessimism and the fear. It allows us to empower other people, to help other people, to mentor, to pour into other people. Hope allows us to see past the moments that are hard and painful, to be able to recognize that it's temporary. And even if the situation itself is not anything that is going to change how I look at the situation, how I adjust and adapt to the situation, that can change. I think a lot about, I think I mentioned, people probably know I like superheroes. Wonder Woman is one of my favorites, but I also like Superman. I like me a good Clark Kent, and the reason why is not just because of who he represents with regard to hope, but also the real life Superman, Christopher Reeves. And here is a man who went from his identity, I'm sure, being tapped into his strength and his power and his potential and his presence, to an accident that left him paralyzed. And when you go from thinking all of your worth and value are in these physical things, and you're stripped away of all of the things that you think make you who you are, and you're able to emerge out of that, and continue to give others hope, and continue to empower other people, and continue to find ways for you to engage, and live in what you are, and not stay in the sadness of what you aren't. To me, that is the epitome of hope. So why is hope important, Tarver? And why do we, and how do we create the hope, right? It's important for all of the reasons of we need it in order to be able to survive, but also in creating it, it allows us to continue to plant those seeds, right? And so when we need that shelter, when we need that shade, when we need that respite, when we need that anchor, we have it as we build kind of our hope arsenal, if you will. So let's talk about how to create hope. It is important that you have goals. You have to have hope goals. What is a hope goal? A hope goal is you creating for yourself the things that are going to continue to replenish your hope when it gets chipped away at, when it gets dimmed over time. That may be fasting from negativity. That may be surrounding yourself by positive people who pour into you. That might be you reading hope-infused scriptures, listening to podcasts, books. It may look like you being focused in this moment and not in the regrets of what didn't happen or the fears of what may not happen. But I'm going to be in this moment, and I'm going to choose to be the best I can be in this present moment. It is being reflective and recognizing what your ministry looks like. What am I putting out to other people? And is it consistent with what I say it is? And also, is it consistent with how other people experience me? Affirmations, like it's important for us to affirm ourselves, but also that we affirm other people, that we work on being confident in knowing our worth and our value and being able to be that light. Having a positive outlook can be challenging at times, because sometimes you're like, I just don't have the energy right now to be positive. As Tabitha Brown would say, I don't have to mess up anyone else's day though. If I choose not to have a good day, or if I'm not in a space to be able to have a good day, I do not have to take away from someone else's day. And so as we're finding where the hope springs from, and hope springs eternal, because there's always opportunities around you for hope. You just have to go and connect with those experiences and those people in order for you to have the hopeful experiences. And so there isn't an absence of hope, but sometimes there is a lack of desire to pursue things that are hopeful, and a lack of energy to be able to invest in doing the things that continue to create hope in our lives. I'll leave you with this. Christopher Reeves, who I mentioned earlier, the real life Superman, stated, once you choose hope, anything is possible. Okay? So it is possible for you to be hopeful, and it's also possible for you to be well.